You claim to be a perfectly normal functioning adult. But the second your front door locks and you are entirely alone, you instantly devolve into a complete, unhinged weirdo. We all do it, and we absolutely all lie about it. Today, we are dragging your most heavily guarded, deeply embarrassing private home habits straight out of the shadows. Prepare to feel completely exposed. 1. Finding a bottle of liquid school glue in a junk drawer instantly strips away decades of maturity. Suddenly, you are a strange 7-year-old again, intentionally smearing a thick, cold layer of that white sludge across your palm. You wave your hand around like a maniac waiting for it to dry, just so you can carefully peel it off like a reptile shedding its winter skin. It is a profoundly unsettling textural obsession that never really goes away. Now you are a grown taxpayer with back pain, standing over a trash can, removing fake flesh for a cheap dopamine hit. 2. The legendary ritual known as the aggressive door jiggle happens every single time you leave the house. You lock the deadbolt, take exactly 3 steps toward the car, and your brain immediately wipes the last 10 seconds of your memory. Did you actually secure the house? Or did you just leave your home completely defenseless to burglars? Panic sets in. So you march right back and yank on that poor brass handle with the terrifying force of a feral bear. You physically assault your own property just to prove to your raging anxiety that the living room is safe. 3. Behind closed doors, your private fashion sense is nothing short of a desperate cry for psychiatric help. The moment you are alone, all rules of civilized society evaporate. You wander the hallway wearing thick woolen hiking socks, faded boxer shorts from 2 administrations ago, and a massive winter parka because you refuse to touch the thermostat. You look less like a functioning member of society and more like a confused shipwreck survivor who washed ashore in a thrift store bin. But comfort is the ultimate king, and there is zero chance you're putting on denim just to watch television. 4. Drinking pickle juice straight from the glass jar is a terrifying goblin behavior, yet you treat it like an incredibly rare French wine. Standing in the glow of the open fridge, you tilt that heavy glass back, getting cold, neon green brine dripping all over your chin. You absolutely savor that sharp, salty vinegar burn. It is a terrifying sodium cocktail that would give your cardiologist an immediate panic attack, but you simply do not care. In that deeply shameful moment, your physical body craves the massive salt rush far more than it values any remaining shreds of human dignity. 5. Right at this exact second, there is a very high probability you are glancing suspiciously around the room. A sudden wave of paranoia hits, making you wonder if you are the unknowing star of a twisted reality show. You realize you have personally committed at least half the bizarre offenses on this list, and now you feel incredibly exposed. You start staring at the smoke detector, wondering if the government is actively judging your terrible posture. Take a deep breath. Nobody is secretly broadcasting your life, but you really need to stop having out-loud political debates with the cat. 6. Dragging the vacuum cleaner out guarantees you will spot a stray penny, a paperclip, or an unidentifiable hard pebble on the carpet. A responsible adult would simply bend over and throw the object in the trash. Instead, you deliberately push that $200 machine directly over the debris just to hear the agonizing mechanical rattle of destruction. That terrifying clacking sound as the metal shreds the internal plastic gives you a completely unhinged rush of joy. You are actively destroying your own expensive home appliances out of pure laziness and a weird thirst for household violence. 7. Your relationship with the printed expiration dates on groceries is highly toxic and completely abusive. Instead of throwing out the week-old milk like a rational human being, you unscrew the cap, take a deep, suspicious sniff, and visually inspect it for terrifying chunky textures. Essentially, you are playing a high-stakes game of biological roulette with your own digestive tract. It is a dangerous gamble that could easily end in a spectacular bathroom emergency. Yet you gladly risk total physical devastation every single week, simply because putting on shoes and driving to the store feels like an Olympic event. 8. Bedtime turns your mattress into a complex thermal laboratory. You regulate your entire body temperature by strategically dangling exactly one exposed foot out from underneath the heavy duvet. It is an incredibly precise biological thermostat system that defies modern science. Pull the limb back inside the blanket, and you immediately burst into spontaneous combustion. Push the second leg out, and you instantly freeze into a solid block of ice. It is a wildly delicate, high-wire balancing act that magically cools your boiling blood while keeping the terrifying monsters hiding under the bed completely at bay. 9. Peeling back the aluminum foil lid of a yogurt container triggers a deeply horrifying morning ritual. You proceed to lick it with a level of intense thoroughness that should require a psychological evaluation. Aggressively scraping every microscopic molecule of dairy off that jagged metal with your tongue risks serious lacerations, all because you paid 89 cents for the snack and refused to waste a drop. Sitting at the kitchen counter looking like a desperately starving anteater, you fully abandon all societal graces just to extract that tiny smear of artificial strawberry flavor. 10. For absolutely no logical reason, lying perfectly still in the dark sometimes inspires you to intentionally manufacture a devastatingly tragic scenario. You invent a situation in your head that has a literal 0% chance of occurring, like delivering the eulogy for your currently healthy golden retriever. Within 3 minutes, you are violently sobbing right into your pillow. You purposefully inflict severe psychological torture on yourself just to feel something on a random Thursday evening. It is an Oscar-winning emotional breakdown directed entirely by your own brain, proving you desperately need a healthier hobby. 11. Hearing an unfamiliar car door slam outside causes an instant mutation into a wildly suspicious, retired neighborhood gossip. You silently creep over to the window, stealthily separate 2 horizontal blinds with your index and middle fingers, and squint through the tiny gap like a Cold War sniper. Watching an innocent delivery driver drop off a cardboard package, you immediately whisper out loud to the empty room, asking what on earth those people are buying now. You have unofficially appointed yourself as the supreme commander of the neighborhood watch, executing covert surveillance from the safety of your recliner. 12. Changing the bedsheets inevitably turns into a suffocating, near-death experience the moment you try to stuff the comforter inside its cover. Rather than doing it normally, you physically crawl your entire upper body straight into the gaping mouth of the fabric just to desperately hunt for those elusive top corners. For 3 terrifying minutes, you become a frantic ghost trapped inside your own bedding, blindly thrashing your arms around in total darkness. You are locked in a sweaty wrestling match against a giant rectangular cotton sack, and embarrassingly enough, the blanket usually wins. 13. Watching a scary movie alone in the dark somehow gives you the delusional belief that the actors on screen can physically hear your urgent tactical advice. You shout things at the television, begging the absolute moron not to go down into the basement, and then get genuinely infuriated when they get chopped to pieces anyway. Taking their horribly written, fictional life choices incredibly personally is completely normal for you. You sit on a plush sofa, covered in potato chip crumbs, furiously screaming at a scripted teenager who just made the fatal mistake of dropping their flashlight. 14. Encountering an empty cardboard appliance box or an unusually large laundry basket overrides your human logic with an ancient, primitive feline instinct. You stare at the confined space and immediately wonder about your physical volume. Before long, you are violently contorting your adult skeleton, desperately trying to fold your limbs underneath the living room coffee table just to see if you can technically fit. 10 seconds later, you inevitably get wedged tight, awkwardly trapped on the rug like a deeply confused tortoise, silently questioning every single poor life decision that led to this painfully embarrassing predicament. 15. Let us address the most universally hidden, disgusting secret of the human experience. Right before flushing the toilet, you absolutely stand up, turn around, and intensely inspect the horrifying aftermath floating in the porcelain bowl. Surveying the biological disaster zone gives you a truly bizarre, unspoken sense of accomplishment. It is a profoundly gross, daily medical audit that every single person on the planet conducts, yet not a single soul will ever confess to it in public. Staring down at your own foul creation simply confirms that your internal digestive plumbing is still functioning properly. 16. The bathroom mirror serves as the ultimate stage for your most mentally unhinged dramatic performances. Out of nowhere, You will stare deeply into your own eyes and start practicing how you would dramatically deliver incredibly tragic news to a loved one. Slowly tilting your chin down, you force your lower lip to violently quiver, trying your absolute hardest to squeeze out one single cinematic tear. It is a completely psychotic level of method acting for a highly emotional soap opera that exists entirely inside your own disturbed brain. The sheer narcissism required to fake cry at your own reflection is staggering. 17. The 60 seconds right before stepping into the hot shower are strictly reserved for a highly classified, incredibly depressing scientific experiment. Standing completely naked on the bath mat, you jiggle various soft areas of your body just to witness the brutal reality of gravity in real time. Slapping your own stomach just to hear the hollow thud, or flexing weird, dormant shoulder muscles, is a deeply private affair. This aggressively humiliating audit of your own physical flabbiness would absolutely traumatize any unfortunate soul who happened to accidentally open the bathroom door. 18. Ripping the bedroom closet door open with blinding speed is your secret tactic to catch the resident demon completely off guard. Your tax-paying adult brain fully understands that supernatural entities do not exist, but your primitive lizard brain insists on a mandatory security sweep. Scanning the dark space behind your heavy winter coats verifies that there is no deranged axe murderer currently waiting to strike. Once the dark and dusty perimeter is officially cleared, you give a firm, satisfied nod, finally allowing yourself to turn off the lamp and go to sleep without fear of getting assassinated. 19. Your preferred seating position on the living room sofa defies every known law of human spinal anatomy. When nobody is around, you somehow end up with both your legs thrown completely over the top backrest. Your neck bends sharply off the cushion, allowing all the blood to dangerously rush straight into your eyeballs. To anyone walking by the window, you look exactly like a twisted casualty at a horrific crime scene who was shoved down a steep flight of stairs. Yet somehow, this chaotic, pretzel-like bodily distortion is what you genuinely consider the absolute peak of evening relaxation. 20. Catching your reflection sometimes prompts you to desperately practice basic human facial expressions. You act like a recently deployed alien sleeper agent trying to blend in with the locals, testing out various casual smiles, firm, empathetic nods, and highly specific eyebrow angles. The horrifying part is that every single attempt makes you look infinitely more psychotic and untrustworthy than the last. Standing there practicing how to look completely normal and approachable for 10 solid minutes usually ends in disaster. You ultimately look like a terrifying sociopath who is actively planning to steal a neighbor's car. 21. Attempting to secretly open a cheap plastic bakery container at 3 in the morning instantly transforms you into a highly trained bomb disposal expert. In the dead silence of the dark kitchen, every microscopic crinkle of that rigid, unforgiving plastic sounds exactly like a chaotic military firefight. You are just trying to covertly extract a massive chocolate muffin without waking up your peacefully sleeping spouse. Yet, you are forced to move with the agonizingly slow, calculated precision of an international diamond thief bypassing a laser security grid. One wrong flex, the plastic violently snaps, and your gluttonous mission is compromised. 22. Processing your neglected mountain of laundry requires a highly questionable forensic scientific method known as the armpit inhale test. You desperately dig a wrinkled shirt out from the bottom of the pile, bury your nose straight into the absolute danger zone, and take a deep, terrifying breath of the fabric. If the pungent chemical fumes do not immediately knock you completely unconscious, you legally declare the garment clean and put it right on your body. Operating like a feral raccoon in sweatpants, you make wildly inappropriate hygiene decisions just to avoid loading the washing machine. 23. Discovering a highly questionable Tupperware container shoved deep in the back of the fridge initiates the most dangerous protocol known to mankind. Prying the lid off, you analyze the fuzzy biological growth, scrape the mold away with a dirty fork, and ingest a microscopic test sample. Then, you simply stand perfectly still in the kitchen for exactly 30 seconds, quietly waiting to see if your organs shut down. Playing this reckless gastronomic game of Russian roulette is a weekly occurrence, all done for the absolute glory of saving $4.50 on a fresh lunch. 24. Do not even try to deny this one. At least once in the past month, you have legitimately tried to move a household object using the ancient Jedi Force. Casually extending your open palm toward a distant cup of hot coffee on the table, you fiercely narrow your eyes with terrifying focus. You firmly hope that today is the exact day your latent superhero genetics finally activate. Obviously, the ceramic mug stays completely glued to the wood. Nothing magical ever happens, but the profound, crushing look of genuine disappointment on your stupid face is incredibly real every single time. 25. Scrubbing pots at the kitchen sink is the perfect time to host an elaborate, heavily syndicated late-night talk show entirely inside your own head. You act as both the charming host and the devastatingly attractive celebrity guest. Answering highly specific, imaginary questions about your brilliant rise to international superstardom, you casually toss your head back to deliver the perfect chuckle at your own witty jokes. You are definitively the most charismatic, fascinating human being that television has never booked, and your massive, captivated studio audience is literally just a stinking pile of crusty, unwashed dinner plates. 26. Every single home features that one specific piece of furniture, usually an expensive accent chair or an exercise bike, serving as absolute purgatory for your semi-used wardrobe. These cursed garments are way too contaminated to ever be folded back into a clean drawer, but not quite putrid enough to justify a full washing cycle. So you just hurl them onto the pile. Letting this unstable textile mountain grow for weeks guarantees the entire cotton structure will inevitably collapse under its own massive weight. Only then will your lazy self be forced to actually load the washing machine. 27. Restarting the exact same depressing pop song 3 consecutive times is necessary simply because you were mildly distracted during the massive emotional crescendo. You absolutely demand that the epic, orchestral soundtrack of your incredibly boring life hits the perfect thematic beat while you stare blankly out the frosted living room window. If the internal cinematic vibe feels even slightly off, your entire grueling commute from the soft couch to the kitchen pantry is completely ruined. You essentially operate like an overly demanding Hollywood director, micromanaging a scene where absolutely nothing happens. 28. Harboring an insane, wildly inappropriate level of emotional guilt for that one, heavily dented can of low-sodium chicken soup is a real problem. You will physically pick it up from the dusty back corner of the pantry and strategically place it right in the front row. Genuinely terrified that the aluminum cylinder might feel abandoned or violently jealous of the newly purchased groceries, you project deep psychological trauma onto processed vegetables. This staggering level of emotional manipulation toward kidney beans proves you are way too incredibly soft to survive in the wild. 29. When crippling sheer laziness hits, the actual process of assembling a meal feels like building the Great Pyramids. Instead of spending 2 minutes making a sandwich, you bypass civilization entirely. Shoving a cold slice of processed turkey straight into your mouth, you rapidly follow it with a raw square of sharp cheddar and forcefully chug a squirt of yellow mustard directly from the bottle. Violently chewing the mess together allows your oral cavity to act as a horrific human blender. It is incredibly tragic, visually horrifying, and yet completely efficient and absolutely delicious. 30. At exactly 2 in the morning, the most psychologically devastating mathematical game in human history begins. Officially known as sleep subtraction panic, the rules are simple. You fiercely glare at the glowing red numbers on your alarm clock, rapidly calculate that you will secure exactly 3 hours and 14 minutes of rest before work, and immediately trigger a massive internal panic attack. The massive spike in cortisol from doing this horrific mental arithmetic absolutely guarantees you will be wide awake for another solid hour, entirely sabotaging your own desperate equation and destroying your morning. 31. The absolute millisecond a wooden floorboard inexplicably creaks in the dark hallway, your entire personality shifts into a heavily armed private security contractor. Instantly freezing every muscle in your body, you frantically smash the mute button on the television remote and completely stop breathing for 40 straight seconds. Gripping that incredibly lightweight plastic remote control in your sweaty hand like it is a lethal tactical weapon gives you a false sense of security. You are legitimately prepared to engage in hand-to-hand combat with a demonic entity, or at the very least hurl a decorative throw pillow at its head. 32. Holding a cold glass bottle instantly makes peeling off that paper label perfectly intact the single most important objective of your entire life. Using your fingernail to pry up the glued corner, you treat the soggy paper like you are performing incredibly delicate cardiovascular surgery. If the damp label tears right down the middle, you experience a crushing wave of profound personal failure that genuinely ruins the taste of the beverage. But if you manage to extract it in one continuous, glorious strip, you proudly slap it directly onto the table like a hard-won Olympic gold medal. 33. Blindly grazing your neck and randomly discovering a thick, mutant rogue hair that is inexplicably 3 solid inches long causes an immediate collision of panic and fascination. Sprinting to the bathroom cabinet, you arm yourself with sharp metal tweezers, hunting this massive biological anomaly like you are tracking a dangerous rhinoceros on a safari. When you finally rip the stubborn beast out by its root, you just stand under the harsh fluorescent lights, fiercely staring at the disgusting follicle with a disturbing mixture of total revulsion and massive, unearned personal pride becomes the highlight of your day. 34. Your brain still strictly enforces the highly psychotic, completely arbitrary geometric laws of your kitchen floor tiles. For absolutely no rational reason, you physically refuse to let your bare heel touch the dirty grout lines. Leaping over the imaginary borders or navigating the linoleum in incredibly sharp L-shaped patterns makes you look like a wildly confused night piece on a massive chessboard. You are a fully grown, tax-paying adult citizen, heavily burdened with credit card debt, happily playing a high-stakes solo game of avoiding the deadly lava on a random Tuesday afternoon, just to appease your own weird superstitions. 35. Moving through your dark house at 2 in the morning without turning on a single light, entirely convinced you possess elite ninja vision. You flat out refuse to flick the wall switch because it would completely ruin your tactical stealth mission to the kitchen. Instead, you slowly slide your bare feet across the carpet like a blindfolded hostage, hands waving wildly in front of your face to detect walls. You inevitably smash your hip directly into the sharp corner of the kitchen island, instantly shattering your delusion of being a highly trained military operative. 36. You have absolutely spent an embarrassing amount of time aggressively trying to balance a standard wall light switch perfectly in the middle. You stand alone in the hallway for 5 solid minutes, intensely nudging the plastic toggle millimeter by millimeter, desperate to find that magical forbidden dead zone where the internal circuit crackles but the bulb stays off. It is a completely useless, highly dangerous game of residential electrical roulette that no one asked for. You are a tax-paying citizen actively trying to short-circuit your own expensive home wiring just to prove you possess the precise touch of a master bank safecracker. 37. The sheer culinary violence that occurs when standing completely alone in front of an open pantry is staggering. Forcefully scooping out a massive glob of chunky peanut butter, you shove the cold metal spoon directly into your mouth. Then, completely throwing human decency to the wind, you double-dip that same saliva-covered utensil right back into the pristine jar. Darting your eyes around the empty kitchen like a guilty fugitive on the run, you tightly screw the plastic lid back on and happily walk away. You have intentionally unleashed massive bacterial warfare on your own groceries. 38. Accidentally dropping a dirty sock onto the carpet aggressively throws millions of years of advanced human evolution entirely out the window. Instead of just bending at the waist like a civilized, functioning member of modern society, you fiercely curl your bare toes around the cotton fabric like a feral chimpanzee swinging through the jungle canopy. You have magically developed an incredibly complex, highly disturbing level of foot dexterity. This amazing skill exists purely because you refuse to activate your lower lumbar muscles for literally 2 seconds. The crushing weight of your laziness is genuinely awe-inspiring. 39. Suddenly pulling the neck of your t-shirt up entirely over your nose and mouth just to breathe your own trapped air for 20 minutes. You sit perfectly still on the sofa looking exactly like a deeply exhausted fabric ninja, aggressively filtering the living room oxygen through a heavily washed cotton barrier. It serves absolutely zero practical purpose, yet the enclosed hot sensation is weirdly, deeply comforting. You are basically constructing a highly pathetic, private isolation tent out of your own cheap clothing simply because the local television programming is terrible. and you are too incredibly bored to function properly. 40. The incredibly cheap fiberglass walls of your shower somehow convince you that you possess the magnificent, earth-shattering vocal range of an international pop superstar. As scalding hot water blasts your face, you scream out emotional, high-pitched power ballads, wildly attempting to hit complex musical notes that literally do not even exist in modern audio theory. In your highly delusional brain, the damp bathroom acoustics make you sound exactly like a wealthy, Grammy-winning legend. In brutal reality to anyone standing out in the hallway, your terrifying performance sounds exactly like a diseased, feral cat fighting a lawnmower. 41. Heating up a frozen burrito suddenly transforms you into a heavily sweating tactical explosives expert trying to save a crowded city. Locking your unblinking eyes onto the glowing digital countdown, your muscles intensely coil as you wait for the absolute perfect microsecond to strike. The instant the green number flashes to 1, you yank that metal handle open to successfully abort the deafening triple beep sequence. You honestly feel like an elite military hero who just miraculously prevented a catastrophic nuclear detonation. The tragic reality is, you just have an incredibly low tolerance for annoying kitchen noises. 42. Approaching a standard wooden staircase instantly triggers a wildly psychotic, athletic complex buried deep within your brain. Instead of safely walking up the steps like a normal taxpayer, you fiercely stretch your legs to absolute maximum capacity. Violently lunging past 4 massive wooden steps in a single terrifying bound risks a catastrophic, life-altering groin tear just to reach the heavily carpeted second floor, roughly 1.5 seconds faster than usual. It is not about saving precious time. It is a highly dangerous, completely unnecessary ego trip against your own local architecture. 43. Absolutely nothing is more aggressively damaging to your frail human ego than catching a sudden, highly unexpected glimpse of your own dark reflection in a powered-down television screen. For a horrifying split second, your brain panics, fully convinced a hideous, disheveled swamp monster has broken into your secure living room. Legitimately flinching at the horrifying apparition is terrible, but the tragic realization sets in moments later. The exhausted, dead-eyed zombie staring menacingly back at you is simply your own horrible face. It is a wildly massive, entirely self-inflicted blow to whatever tiny shred of self-esteem you had left. 44. You will casually scratch your own scalp, behind your ear, or deep inside your belly button, and then immediately bring your fingers straight up to your nose for a highly aggressive, deeply shameful sniff test. There is absolutely zero logical reason to medically evaluate your own localized body odor while sitting perfectly alone on the recliner watching the evening news. Yet your primitive brain absolutely demands a biological status update. It is a profoundly disgusting, heavily guarded secret behavior that definitively proves modern humans are literally just hairless apes operating on incredibly gross primal instincts the moment nobody is looking. 45. Succumbing to intense narcissism every few months leads you to type your exact legal name into a search engine, just to medically verify that you still physically exist in the universe. Frantically scrolling through the bizarre search results brings immense relief that your face is not plastered all over a federal most wanted criminal list. Yet, you are simultaneously deeply offended that no one has written a massive encyclopedia article detailing your absolute genius. Aggressively auditing your own incredibly depressing digital footprint is a desperate measure to ensure the corporate algorithms have not entirely forgotten you. 46. Your giant humming refrigerator is treated like a highly magical, interdimensional portal for severe evening boredom. Yanking the heavy door open, you desperately stare blankly at the exact same pathetic jar of expired mayonnaise and rotting spinach, sigh in total disgust, and slam it shut. Magically, exactly 2 minutes later, you march right back and open it again, fiercely praying that the universe has miraculously materialized a steaming, fully roasted chicken on the middle shelf. You are not physically starving in the slightest. Your brain is just hunting for cheap visual entertainment, and the condiments are completely failing you. 47. Clipping your pinky toe on the heavy wooden leg of the living room coffee table instantly transforms you into a highly abusive, wildly unhinged sailor. A dark, terrifying string of brutal, hyperspecific profanity is immediately unleashed directly at the inanimate object, verbally destroying its entire structural lineage. You are legitimately deeply offended that a stationary piece of carved mahogany had the absolute audacity to maliciously exist within your sovereign walking path. The sheer volume of pure, venomous hatred hurled at a harmless piece of Swedish furniture should absolutely require immediate anger management therapy. 48. Finding the exact perfect groove on the soft couch cushions means absolutely nothing will force you to move, not even severe, blinding physical agony. Brutally realizing you need to empty your bladder does not matter because you stubbornly refuse to budge. Actively initiating a high-stakes, terrifying game of chicken with your own internal organs for 3 consecutive hours is your bizarre choice. You are literally willing to risk catastrophic, permanent kidney failure and a massive hospital bill purely because the fleece blanket is currently at the perfect temperature. That is a truly staggering level of pure human laziness. 49. Despite holding a highly expensive framed college degree on your wall, your brain occasionally flatlines when trying to spell the most embarrassingly basic vocabulary words known to man. Violently panicking, you furiously pull out your phone to type horrific, mangled letter combinations like restaurant or necessary straight into the glowing search bar. You even activate the highly secure private browsing mode, not to secretly hide illegal adult content, but to fiercely protect your massive, humiliating grammatical incompetence from the federal agents secretly monitoring your internet connection. Your middle school English teacher would be absolutely devastated. 50. Out of absolutely nowhere, you will intensely lock eyes with your own open palm and fiercely stare at it for so long that your fingers literally stop feeling like human appendages. Wiggling your thumb around in total silence, you become completely mesmerized by the weird tendons. For 5 solid seconds, you are fiercely convinced that you are actually a highly advanced, malfunctioning biological robot aggressively trying to comprehend its own weird, fleshy programming. Then, just as violently as this massive existential crisis arrived, your brain abruptly reboots, and you go right back to scrolling social media like a brain-dead zombie. All right, time to confess your domestic crimes. Which one of these weird habits did I absolutely nail? And what completely psychotic thing do you do when nobody is watching that I missed? Do not lie. I read the comments. Drop your most embarrassing secret down below. If you felt personally attacked by this list, aggressively hit that like button and subscribe for more brutal truths.